and so are you. California passed SB 54 for one reason, because public safety requires that all of our neighbors trust that the police will be providing us with protection and not ripping away our uncles or fathers or mothers or brothers. It's needed because we have an administration in Washington that can't be trusted to protect all our neighbors. We have a president who talks about deporting animals, but in fact is targeting college professors and 10-year-old girls after they receive medical treatment. Some of our neighbors cannot feel protected and served by that. It's true we're a nation of laws. Law matters. Some of our neighbors, decent, hardworking people who have come here from desperately poor places, just wanting to work hard to provide for their families, some of those people have broken our immigration law, that's true. But we can't reasonably or morally expect our immigrant neighbors to trust our local law enforcement if they see local law enforcement as a branch of immigration and customs enforcement. And for all of our safety, we need our immigrant neighbors to trust law enforcement. It would be the height of stupidity to ignore that need because we're afraid. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I would like to suggest that somebody who's holding a sign saying liar is kind of equal to saying to other people making comments like that.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mayor Percival and City Council members. Thank you for this further opportunity to address this topic, and I hope to keep my remarks civil. SB 54, I'm against SB 54 because SB 54 is patently illegal and unconstitutional. I've already laid out the justifications for that line of reasoning at 3 previous City Council meetings. I just encourage you to continue to review this matter and to take a reasoned approach and to come out against SB 54, because if we decide that we're against one part of the Constitution or one part of the laws, then we basically become a nation, a lawless nation that's ungovernable. And if you want to take a look at the net result of SB 54 and like actions, take a look at what happened in Los Angeles with MS-13, starting with their failure in the 90s to work with INS and drive out MS-13 from their city. If we think that we're going to be immune from what happens in LA, we're already experiencing overcrowding, traffic problems, and every other urban nightmare that moves east. It's just been a matter of time, and eventually this problem will catch up with us too. So I urge you to thoughtfully consider this opt-out measure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm Diane Schilling. I'm a resident of the city of Hemet. I believe Hemet should be a city of truth, trust, and values. I believe that we need to deal with the facts, not the fears. I think the facts have been adequately presented by the city attorney and by the police department. SB 54 will not impact this city. I do not think that I am a liar. I think I am telling the truth. I think that we should not oppose SB 54. I'm not particularly in favor of it. I think it's a bad law, but I do not think we should oppose it. I do not think we should be the instruments of enforcing executive orders rather than congressionally mandated laws. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, your next speakers will be Brian Cash, followed by Patrick Weiss, followed by Jimmy Ballard, Eric Drow, and Mike Rossiter.
Thank you, Council, for your time, and thank you to all the non-citizens that came to Hemet today. I wish you would come and participate in other activities in this town instead of just racial issues. Thank you for the presentations. It does seem like the city is already in line with the law. Thank you for Lieutenant for your presentation. It was well put together. I am Brian Hash. I'm a citizen here. I've been here for 10 years, unlike the visitors we have in the audience. I'm a regional ambassador for Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom. know you guys love that.
Comments down.
But I just urge you guys. You're all great leaders in the community. You all do great things. I appreciate what you've done in your own aspects. I just would like to see you take a neutral stance. I'm neither really for or against SB 54. There are some pros and cons. But I would urge you to not stand with the circus of hate and the pussy grabber we have in the White House. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Patrick Weiss. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm a proud American citizen, and I'm glad we have a democracy still in this country. I'm going to start off by quoting Donald Trump. He mentioned this in the early 1970s. He said, "Black guys counting my money, I hate it. I think that guy is lazy, and it's probably not his fault, because laziness is a trait of blacks." Here's some more comments by current President Donald Trump, June 2015. "Mexican immigrants are rapists who are bringing crime and bringing drugs to us." June 2017. "Immigrants from Haiti all have AIDS, and Nigerians once seeing us would never go back to their huts." January 12, 2018, refers to Africa and Haiti as shitholes. "Why are we having all these people from shithole countries come here?" These comments by our current president generalize thousands of people, most of who are hard-working immigrants who come here for a better life, just like most immigrants, including your distant and not-so-distant relatives, who came here to be hard-working, good citizens and contribute to American society. My immigrant grandmother, who came from Ukraine, and great-grandfather from Ireland also encountered some of the same hate and bigotry espoused today towards immigrants. These comments by our president, which divide people, encourages hate and racism, are the wrong reasons for not supporting SB 54, California's sanctuary law. If in fact the president wants to enforce immigration laws, he could have kept it at that in his statements, but he did not. But when he uses pejorative language against immigrants, who are our neighbors, co-workers, friends, family, the people who feed us, grow our food, clean our businesses, take care of us, and are also in our military, that bigoted language is a wrong and immoral motivation. That is why I am asking that the Hemet City Council not join or support the amicus brief as it relates to Senate Bill 54. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor.
You can pull it down.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm very privileged to be able to talk to you today. My name is Timmy Steele Ballard. I am a 100% disabled Vietnam vet and Cold War veteran. I have served overseas for 6 years. It breaks my heart that when I left this country at the tail end of the Vietnam War, I came home and I saw something I just didn't recognize. I couldn't go into stores without being bothered or insulted or called names. We had no place to go to that was actually safe. I live over here in Four Seasons. It's supposed to be a gated, beautiful community, a safe community. We've already had 3 home invasions. These 3 home invasions came from immigrants. I come from an immigrant family. My grandfather came over on a workboat from Sweden. He came in, and because of the laws at the time, if you did not speak English, you worked on the railroad. My grandmother came over on a workboat from Germany during World War II. She couldn't speak English either, but she could teach algebra, and she was a millionaire. My family are all based on immigrants, but we all did the right thing. We came in legally. It breaks my heart to see that this town, I moved to this town because of my mother in the 80s, how beautiful this town was. It was a great town. And now I have to go. I have to sell my home and leave. It's no longer safe. I even made a joke with the mayor earlier this evening. Do you have a weapon? Do you have a gun? I think I need a gun just to go out in public now. I feel so bad that this is happening to you. And I'm sorry, we cannot stay any longer. My husband, he works very, very hard. He's a professor at Cal State San Bernardino. He also teaches at 3 other campuses. I have to go in for many tests now, especially for tuberculosis, because an immigrant that is staying, that's over at San Jacinto College has got tuberculosis, and now I've got to take the test.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Eric Giroux. Thanks for having me speak. Thank you to law enforcement. Always like to thank them. I'm not a Hemet resident, but I was born in California. I own property in California. I went to Marine Corps boot camp in California. I went to Marine Corps School of Infantry in California, and I shipped off the war from California. So I think I'm kind of qualified. And if I can get here on the freeways, the illegals can get here and vice versa. So this is not just a local issue like these tribalist La Raza people over here say. I'd really like to thank you guys for taking the bull by the horns. I mean, that is real California values. Forget what that phony fraud, Kevin De Leon, that La Raza racist. I really appreciate the city attorney giving that detailed presentation, but I almost wish he hadn't. You know, it's like the horror movie when they open up the door. You almost wish he hadn't seen that, because it's actually even worse than we thought. That could only have been written by a racial partisan, a racist partisan. You know, I've been and worked in these countries where ethnic warfare is a factor, has occurred in the former Yugoslavia, South Sudan, places like that, and that's exactly where this is leading us. That could only have been written by a La Raza racist, racial warfare artist on the population of America. There's just no other way to put it. Let's call things what they are. To even have to ask you to opt out of it is insulting to me. I feel personally insulted that I even have to be here to ask the government to obey the law. Who's going to attend the funeral of these law enforcement officers when they have to go out in the middle of the desert, in the middle of the night, to detain these crooks, these gangbangers, that should have been detained in a controlled environment? I mean, it's so preposterous that we even have to discuss this. So please do the right thing. I know you will. I have confidence in you. Thank you.
Council, my name is Mike Rossiter. I'm a United States Navy veteran, a Vietnam veteran. I took an oath in 1970 to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. I want you to think about your oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, which last time I looked was the supreme law of this land. Not a, hey, I feel like following it today, but not tomorrow. Jerry Brown might flaunt the Constitution. Doesn't mean you have to. Doesn't mean I'm going to. I took my oath, and I have no expiration date. I want to know, does your oath to the Constitution have an expiration date? Does it?
Never have.
You can answer that anytime. Members of the active duty military and veterans all put their life on the line. Your police officers do it every day. You people sit here, you are our first line of defense. Not our last line, our first line. And we expect you to do the right thing. Hopefully you will. Thank you.
Gene Rossiter, Bob, Chad, Andrew Cockett, Eddie Baker, Sharon Dubert, and Ames is the last name? Dawn. Okay, those are the last speakers, if you'll line up.
Good evening.
Hi, my name is Jean Rossiter. I am a resident of Riverside County. I live in Beaumont. My aunt does own property in Hemet, and she's elderly, and I am speaking on her behalf. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. With your attorney's presentation, all I got to say is wow, because it sounds like you have even bigger hoops to jump through and more paperwork than simply opting out by doing a resolution or filing an amicus curiae brief. One of the things the city attorney did not mention is that there was a federal lawsuit when President Obama took on the state of Arizona regarding immigration, and Arizona won. So I just want to point that out to you. President Trump did sign an executive order January 25th, 2017 that says all cities and counties must show proof that they have opted out of SB 54 or risk any and all federal funding. Governor Brown, Lieutenant Governor Newsom, and the ACLU have forced ICE back into our communities. ICE is no longer allowed to pick up detainees, criminal aliens from our jails. They are not allowed to use their databases and transfer these criminals in a safe environment. They are now having to go door to door, go to businesses with their warrants, as they are required to do, which really brings more attention to where illegals live, which is an unintended consequence. So for us, the public, the unintended consequence is increased criminality for all. Please protect our ICE agents. Protect our communities. Please support your citizens. Thank you.
Evening, folks. I told you I'd be back. My name is Bob Chad. I'm a resident of Hemet. I think this meeting pretty much answers it. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many police officers in here worrying about this law instead of being out there on the street doing what cops do? That was a beautiful presentation by the attorney, but I wonder how many of these police officers really understand it. I mean, do we expect them to be police officers or lawyers? Let them do their job. Oh, what's green light mean?
Means you can speak.
Oh, good to go. Good to go, huh? Last thing, I want to ask how the gentleman's feelings. You know, I took an oath. You guys took an oath. It's pretty simple. The Constitution of the United States of America. Has nothing to do with California, what them nuts do up there, what Moonbeam does. Constitution of the United States. We don't have to get into all the race, all that crap. It's just, that's a lot of hate and discontent. Follow the law, let the cops be cops. We'll have a better community. Thank you.
He just wanted me to go in front of him. My name is Sharon Duber. I've been a 13-year resident here in Hemet. And I have first of all, thank you to the council for putting this work study together. This is not a normal meeting night for you all, and I believe we as residents know that you put a lot of long hours in. So thank you for educating us, giving us the opportunity to speak to this issue. My question is pretty simple. It is directed to Eric, our city attorney. In your presentation, which was excellent, by the way, you mentioned with regard to the federal lawsuit against the state of California that either California had already filed a dismissal or intending to file a dismissal, something to that effect. I was under the impression that the defendant cannot file the dismissal against the prevailing party of the plaintiff. You referred to it then as a demur. So I know, hopefully you can answer that in this session, okay? But I think the strongest position that we can take as concerned residents against SB 54, I am opposed to it, is that collectively at our local jurisdiction levels, we push back on something like this, not letting them file this dismissal, and we come up as the state of Orange County, County of Orange County and San Diego and some other very vocalized cities have already made a stand that we would stand with them opposing it and collectively show this force against the state. Thank you.
It's a good question. I'm glad you asked it In most lawsuits, the plaintiff, the person who files the lawsuit, can dismiss it. They can just decide to dismiss it. That's not what's happening here. The federal government brought the lawsuit, but in federal courts, the person against whom the suit is filed can bring what's called a motion to dismiss the plaintiff's lawsuit. They don't get to just dismiss it for them. It has to come before the court, and the court has to decide whether there are any legal grounds for the plaintiff, in this case the federal government's lawsuit, to exist. It just challenges what's called the sufficiency of the pleadings. It's essentially saying, has the federal government made enough of an argument in their paperwork that the court thinks that there's a lawsuit that can stay in his court or her court? That's all it's doing. They're not dismissing it. They're challenging the federal government's right to even bring the suit.
Thank you. Do you believe then also that as residents of the state of California opposed to not just this particular bill, but the position that our state has taken, if we collectively unite to push back, we become our own first line of defense? Is that the correct position to take?
No, I think you're asking for political advice. I can't give you that.
Taking from your presentation, this could, and you anticipate this to go on and on and on and on. And I think the longer we can drag it out as concerned residents in favor of the federal government winning, the better off we all are.
I think I can answer your question this way. And somebody asked a question about whether individuals could file amicus curiae, friends of the court briefs. In fact, it's not a city or a county that's filed some of the amicus briefs. There are private foundations or nonprofit corporations that have filed amicus curiae, and they've had cities or counties join on their behalf. Citizens can do the same thing. There are any number of interested parties that can file friends of the court briefs. That's different than actually being a party to the lawsuit. But look, this is a democracy. Call your state and local and federal representatives. Let them know that you're unhappy or you are happy with this. That's how our system works.
Right. Okay. Thank you. And thank you for your candor.
Thank you. Good evening, Councilman.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for having this workshop. I am Andrew Kotyak, Councilman from the City of San Jacinto. We were blessed to be at the President's table yesterday, as you know, discussing this item with our mayor and several other elected officials. What I'm providing is a list of those cities. I know the City Council Councilor did submit to you a list of cities, also counties. There's 10 counties, there's 40 cities. And I think there's some key things that he discussed to you and presented in a very neutral way and a thorough way. Doesn't have to honor federal law. So cities or counties don't have to. Or terms like they can honor a transfer, not shall honor a transfer. Those are key words of saying each local community can choose whether or not they want to follow federal law. You see, there's not borders between our cities. And while your law enforcement is following federal law, if others aren't, criminals don't care what those borders are and what law enforcement is or is not. The same thing goes for our county and the prisons that are there that was discussed earlier. You see, we're overburdened, and you know this with AB 109. You know this with 47 and 57. 3 strikes you're out is gone. That doesn't exist anymore. Our judges and our law enforcement are hooking up these criminals over and over and over again because they're not going to stick in jail. They've been reduced to misdemeanor from felonies. And 3 strikes you're out doesn't exist anymore. SB 54 is another way to overburden our law enforcement and to embrace against the Constitution. Right now, you're at a point where you're hearing from the citizens, and how many here are opposed to 54.
Yeah.
Not many are speaking. We just ask, please join us in voicing against the county and supporting the federal government against us to protect our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Mr. Mayor and the city council members, my name is Ed Baker and I own a home in the Valla Hermosa housing tract. I hope you can see the common sense in opting out of SB 54 sanctuary state bill that Governor Jerry Brown has signed into law. Federal law is clear and states by the supremacy clause that the Constitution takes precedence over SB 54. You all took an oath to uphold the Constitution when you took office. I hope you took that oath seriously. Unfortunately, times have changed. It isn't like it was back in the 50s and 60s. Today we have identity theft, we have home invasion robberies, we have crime already present by naturalized citizens. We don't need to import criminals from other countries. The point is, the first and foremost task of government is to protect its citizens. There's a growing movement by other California cities to file at least an amicus brief, if not all out joining the federal lawsuit against SB 54. Please add the fine city of Hemet to the list and vote no on SB 54. You may think it doesn't affect this city. It does. It affects every city. It is about sending a message to the lawless people in Sacramento. They've already sent a message to the citizens of California that they don't care about our safety. Please send a message to Sacramento that you do care about the citizens of this beautiful city. And this is not about immigrants. It's about illegal immigrant lawbreakers. It's about people who are already in jail and keeping them from being released into our community. Thank you very much for your time.
Good evening.
Hi, my name's Dawn. Bear with me. I'm really nervous. I don't do this at all, ever. But you can only vent so much on Facebook, you know. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I had a speech written out, a really short speech, but I had a neighbor emergency, so I didn't bring it. But some things in that speech really spoke to me. I've been working for attorneys for, well, since the mid-'80s. I see police officers on a daily basis. I won't mention where I work, but they mean a lot to me. And I'm a single divorced woman here in the city of Hemet. I have 18 nieces and nephews, all of them biracial, so by no means am I a racist or a white supremacist. I implore you to vote out and opt out of this bill. One of the things that really stuck out to me in my speech, I did some research. In Los Angeles County, one of the oldest sanctuary cities in the state of California, 66% of their offenders are illegals. And of that 66%, 80% of those were violent offenders. I implore you, I've been here 20 years and this has been a great community. There's always been drugs. There's drugs everywhere. People say, oh, Hemet is really bad or whatever, but this is my home. And I'm imploring you to vote. Stand with the other cities that are opting out. Give some precedence here in Riverside County. I don't know how many others. I know San Jacinto had a meeting the other night. But I'm just imploring you, please opt out, because one of the things, not only were the violent offenders and the 66%, the number one thing that stuck out to me was the danger to the police officers that have to go out every day and arrest those people time and time again. It's a revolving door
Thank you.
in and out of our prison systems. So I just wanted to let you know.
That's our last speaker? Yes. All right. So I want to thank everybody for coming out, those who spoke against SB 54 and those who spoke in favor of SB 54 or taking a neutral position. Now I want to bring it back to the council and get some comments, questions, concerns, and some direction for staff. Russ?
Somebody has to be first, right? Well, the first comment I'd like to make, or my first comments that I'd like to make, are relative to some of the things that our speakers shared. We heard more than one speaker talk about the importance of adhering to the oath of office. That's not something that any of us sitting at the dais here take lightly. I personally have taken that oath of office 3 times. I did it once when I entered the military, I did it again when I became a law enforcement officer, and I did it again to take this seat up here. I fully understand and subscribe to the meaning of that oath of office. They're not just words that get memorized and repeated. So I just wanted to make that abundantly clear to anybody that might have questions about that. There was a comment, I think it was Mr. Miller, attempted to paraphrase Lieutenant Brock's comment, and I don't think he got it quite right. Lieutenant Brock didn't say that SB 454 doesn't impact the city. He said it had no impact on their police operations. So I just wanted to make sure that that's clarified, that nobody is implying that SB 454 has impacted or not impacted the city. We're all entitled to our own perspectives on that. The question that was posed to the lieutenant was relative to what impact, if any, it's had on the day-to-day operations of the police department. So I wanted to make that clarification. So I'll hold off any more comments right now and defer to other counsel. Linda?
Okay. In addition to what Russ said about the oath we take and that it is not just words, that oath of office includes supporting the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California. When we were getting the presentation from our city attorney and the questions regarding operations of Hemet PD, they also take that same oath, and it is an oath to support both constitutions. Now, since SB 54 is now a law in the state of California, a concern of Hemet PD was, how do we, as police officers, opt out of a state law? You can't. What we wanted to find out through the legal channel of what SB 54 actually says is that will it legally impede or impair or in any way put our officers in any way in a harmful position from any type of prosecution or any type of situation coming down from the state of California in the daily job that they do. And was pointed out, this doesn't really affect their day-to-day operation because we do not do that type of thing, and if anyone is held, arrested, and released, those names are made public, which is what the sheriff in Orange County is doing. Now, that's a whole different situation when we get into, to me, this is 2 sides. I'm here to protect Hemet PD at all costs. I won't do anything that will put any of them in jeopardy in any way, shape, or form. Now it comes to the insanity that happens in Sacramento, and it's insanity. These are my personal words. Has no reflection on council or on PD.